Startling. No fans, no Eala. With empty seats and a terrible atmosphere following Alex Eala's dramatic exit, the Cincinnati Open is in the midst of a full-blown disaster. The tournament's major attraction is a 21-year-old from the Philippines, and organizers are now frantically trying to figure out what occurred. This is not how everybody anticipated it would end. In the most agonizing way imaginable, a 5-match winning streak against top 10 opponents came to an end. A 2-0 advantage that vanished in the last set. Additionally, the Filipino supporters who had filled the stadium have left. The $7.4 million tournament is left wondering, what happens now, due to the eerie quiet. After a week after being converted into Barangay Eala, the stadium felt empty. Every time Alex Eala took the court, the roar that reverberated throughout the Lindner Family Tennis Center subsided to a murmur. The sea of Philippine flags that had covered every railing and occupied every nook and cranny of the stands was vanished. And the thousands of Filipino supporters who had flocked to the stadium for 3 straight games had vanished. Cincinnati had stopped talking. Alex Eala's incredible run at the $7 on August 17, 2026. The $4 million Cincinnati Open ended tragically. In a match that lasted 2 hours and 28 minutes, the 21-year-old Filipina, ranked 17th in the WTA 1000 event, lost to world number 10 Amanda Anisimova with a final scoreline of 6-4, 4-6, 2-6. Her 5-match winning streak against top 10 opponents came to an end with a defeat, as she was denied a historic 10th career triumph over the world's best athletes. And the tournament's pulse seemed to cease when she left. The stadium had been packed just a few days prior. Ohio had been overtaken by the same phenomena that had changed Fitzgerald Tennis Center in Washington and SoBi Stadium in Toronto. By waving flags, chanting her name, and generating an atmosphere that one commentator compared to a basketball game rather than a tennis match, Filipino fans had transformed the Lindner Family Tennis Center into a home away from home. The strength of the Eala effect was made clear by one event director. Reports state that fans were paying roughly $1,000 in the resale market simply to witness Eala perform. Additionally, 80% of ticket inquiries inquire about her match schedule. The numbers were astounding for a player who was ranked 20th in the world. Up until it wasn't, the match versus Anisimova had fulfilled all of the supporters' expectations. The first set, which lasted 67 minutes, was largely dominated by Eala. With 13 deuces and a duration of 20 minutes and 11 seconds, the 5th game became a marathon service duel. Anisimova had 8 chances to score, but Eala consistently withstood the pressure to take a 3-2 lead. She won the set 6-4 after breaking Anisimova in the 10th game. The audience erupted. The flags of the Philippines waved. It seemed as though the magic might last for a while. However, the second set presented an alternative narrative. Anisimova took the first break of the set to take a 4-3 lead after both players maintained service throughout the first 6 games. The former world number 3 forced the match into a decider when the lone break proved to be the difference. Eala had a fantastic start to the third set, breaking to take a 2-0 lead after holding serve in the first game. The Filipina has previously defeated the greatest players in the world by converting early leads into wins. Then, though, something changed. In response, Anisimova won the next 6 games, seizing the initiative, breaking Eala 3 times, and then sweeping the remaining games to grab the win. 6-4, 4-6, 2-6 was the final score. And the hope of another top 10 upset vanished as Eala left the court. The stadium was filled with Filipino supporters, but they stopped talking. The flags were stowed away after being folded. The sound of empty chairs and reverberating footsteps took the place of the boom that had been called incredible. It was a startling contrast. A few days prior, the tournament had been transformed into a festival of Filipino patriotism. Today, it felt like a ghost town. The Cincinnati Open was the most sought-after event in town due to the Eala effect. And the energy vanished along with it. After the game, Anisimova herself recognized the incident. The American remarked, "I know how loved Alex is, and for good reason." Neither she nor the tennis establishment could have imagined the weight of those statements. It validates what everyone has been seeing all year when a world number 10 and 2-time Grand Slam finalist admits that a player is adored by fans for good reason. Not only is the Eala effect genuine, but it's so strong that opponents are forced to admit it. After the storm, there was an overwhelming silence, but it wasn't the end. It was a chapter. A moment that served as a reminder to Eala and the millions of people who follow her that a single match does not define greatness. It is characterized by the struggle, the trip, and the perseverance. Furthermore, Alex Eala's adventure was far from finished. In addition to being painful, the stillness that ensued after Alex Eala's departure was financially disastrous. Overnight, the numbers that had made the Cincinnati Open the most sought-after event in town disappeared, and the $7.4 million competition was left perplexed by what had transpired. First, let's talk about the demand for tickets. There were rumors prior to Eala's match against Amanda Anisimova that fans would pay up to $1,000 in the resale market simply to watch the Filipina perform. For a second-round match in a WTA 1000 event in Cincinnati, Ohio, it is $1,000. In order to accommodate the unanticipated flood of ticket inquiries, organizers had to rush to find solutions before 9 a.m. due to the tremendous demand. However, the figures get even more startling. 80% of ticket queries inquired about Eala's match schedule, according to tournament officials. For a player ranked 20th in the world, the score is 80%. The whole field's top 10 participated in the competition. Jessica Pegula, Coco Gauff, Elena Rybakina, Iga Swiatek, and Aryna Sabalenka. However, the vast majority of fans only had one question. When will Alex Eala be performing? 3 American communities had previously reported experiencing the Eala effect. At least 80% of ticket requests in Washington came from Eala's fans, according to tournament officials. The 1,800-seat grandstand in Toronto was too tiny to hold her followers, so organizers had to move her to center court. Every night she performed, Sobeys Stadium, which has 10,077 seats, sold out. The same phenomenon had taken hold in Cincinnati. Her matches filled the 12,500-seat Linder Family Tennis Center to capacity. Pork lumpia and Filipino adobo were introduced to the food court. Philippine flags were sold out of the merchandise tent. And everything vanished when she lost. Anisimova was taken aback by the encouragement she got. After the game, she remarked, "I really appreciate that because I know how loved Alex is, and for good reason. There was quite a bit of support for me tonight." In essence, the American celebrity was confirming what everyone already knew. Most people in the stadium had come to see Eala, and now that she was leaving, there was no reason for them to stay. After Eala's defeat, the vacant chairs revealed a tale of reliance. No other player could fill the vacuum created by the Filipina's departure since the tournament had grown so dependent on her ability to draw. Stadium filling wasn't the only aspect of the Eala effect. The goal was to create an environment that completely changed the tournament experience. And the energy, the money, and the magic vanished with it. The figures are accurate. 80% of ticket queries, sold-out stadiums, unfilled seats, and a $1,000 resale market. Due to its reliance on a single player, the Cincinnati Open had fallen prey to its own success. The fans also departed when she did. At the Linder Family Tennis Center, the match versus Amanda Anisimova was a struggle of wills that went long past midnight. The audience was in complete shock after 2 hours and 28 minutes of vicious, unrelenting tennis. A pivotal moment that would shatter Filipino hearts worldwide was at the center of it all. It had been a war in the first set. The 67-minute set was mostly under Eala's control. Throughout the first 4 games, both players maintained serve, but the 5th game was the turning point that would determine the outcome of the entire match. 13 deuces in a 20-minute epic. Anisimova had 8 opportunities for breakpoints, but Eala consistently withstood the pressure and saved breakpoints with amazing determination to maintain serve. In the 6th game, the Filipina had 2 breakpoints of her own, but Anisimova leveled the set at 3. In the 7th game, Anisimova made her breakthrough, breaking Eala at love to take the first significant lead in the set at 4-3. However, Eala answered with a 3-game comeback that demonstrated her characteristic tenacity. In the 8th game, she quickly recovered the lead by holding service. In the 10th game, she increased her pressure on Anisimova's serve to win the set 6-4. The audience erupted. The flags of the Philippines waved. It seemed as though the magic might last for a while. However, the second set presented an alternative narrative. Anisimova took the first break of the set to take a 4-3 lead after both players maintained service throughout the first 6 games. This time, the American put herself within 2 games of the match after consolidating the break with a hold in the 8th game. As the former world know, The one-time break demonstrated the difference. The match was forced into a decider by 3. Eala got off to a fantastic start in the third set, holding service in the opening game before breaking to take a 2-0 lead. The Filipina has previously defeated the greatest players in the world by converting early leads into wins. She had defeated Jessica Pegula, Elena Rybakina, Coco Gauff, and Iga Swiatek thrice. She had defeated opponents ranked in the top 10 in her previous 5 games. Anisimova, however, had different ideas. The third set's 5th game was the pivotal moment. After taking a 40-15 lead, Eala looked ready to take the lead again, but she lost the next 4 points, giving Anisimova a 3-2 lead. The Americans' response was devastatingly effective. After seizing control of the match and breaking Eala 3 times in the next 5 games, she swept the final 6 games to win. "I'm really happy with the way I was able to find my game in the middle of the match," Anisimova remarked following her victory. "I knew it would be a difficult test for me because Alex is an extremely tough player. I'm therefore quite pleased with how I was able to rediscover my tennis skills, play aggressively, and improve." The final score was 6-4, 4-6, 2-6, which prevented Eala from winning her 10th game against a top 10 opponent. And the hope of another upset in the top 10 vanished when Eala left the court. The stadium was filled with Filipino supporters, but they stopped talking. Their faces showed how heartbroken they were. The contest had concluded in the most excruciating way possible after going past midnight. However, Anisimova's post-match remarks demonstrated how much she respected Eala. "I am aware of Alex's exceptional skills as a fighter and gamer. I was aware that the contest would be quite difficult," she remarked. "Perhaps the most illuminating part of the evening was this: there was quite a bit of support for me tonight, so I really appreciate that because I know how loved Alex is, and for good reason." A world number 10, a 2-time Grand Slam finalist, and a player who had competed on the largest tennis platforms respected Eala even in loss. Although there was heartache in Cincinnati, there was no denying Eala's command of respect. The tennis community anticipated the customary post-match platitudes when Amanda Anisimova took the microphone following her victory. Instead, they received something much more illuminating: an open admission that clarified why Alex Eala had emerged as the WTA Tour's most talked-about player. "I know Alex is such a great player and such a fighter, so I knew it was going to be a really tough match," Anisimova remarked during the on-court interview following the game. There was no trace of conceit in the Americans' remarks. They served as an homage, acknowledging that the 21-year-old Filipina had challenged her to the utmost. Anisimova's admiration for Eala was sincere and heartfelt. "I'm really proud of this performance for being able to find a way and kind of push myself there in the middle of the match," she said. "And yes, I'm quite pleased with how I was able to discover my tennis and begin competing." The tennis world was genuinely shocked by the following section of Anisimova's statement, even if it was a very difficult match and she deserves praise. She stated, "I know how loved Alex is, and for good reason, so I really appreciate the support I received tonight." Neither she nor the tennis establishment could have imagined the weight of those statements. It validates what everyone has been seeing all year when a world number 10 and 2-time Grand Slam finalist admits that a player is adored by fans for good reason. The Eala effect is not merely genuine. Opponents are forced to acknowledge it because of its potency. Anisimova even included a little comedy to highlight how exhausting the fight had been. "However, I felt like I needed a boost during this game, so I truly appreciated it." The audience laughed when she added, "because it's past my bedtime." The Lindner Family Tennis Center event had gone far past midnight. Brutal tennis for 2 hours and 28 minutes. Eala won the first set. A 2-0 lead in the final set that appeared to portend yet another historic shock. Anisimova herself could hardly believe she had survived the subsequent collapse. Anisimova gathered momentum by defeating Eala before facing Wimbledon winner Linda Noskova again in the round of 16. However, her mind continued to focus on the opponent she had just defeated. Anisimova's confession went viral due to what she stated about Eala rather than what she said about herself.